Today, I want to talk about how we can sustain desire in long-term relationships, which I know is one of the big challenges that we all face. While the initial honeymoon phase is great and exciting and exhilarating, and often have lots of desire and passion, then we all know once that honeymoon stage slowly drifts away and is over, then it becomes much harder, right? And we just have to acknowledge it is one of the hardest parts of long-term relationship. So today we'll try and look at how to solve this issue. We often grow up learning that desire and love, they come together. They're one and the same thing. It's this romantic dream. And as we have all experienced in long-term relationships, that's not necessarily the case. We can love someone, feel close to someone, but not feel that desire. In surveys, how close a couple recorded or reported that they were to each other did not correlate with that they had more sex or that they had higher intensity of sex or frequency of sex. So closeness at its core is about familiarity and safety, while sexual desire is fueled by novelty, obstacles, distance, and some level of uncertainty and anticipation and power dynamics. So we can say, why is it so hard to keep that desire in long-term relationships in the first place? We naturally gravitate towards comfort and safety, and novelty and anticipation obviously wear off as we get to know each other better because there's less newness. If you can imagine a spectrum with these at each end, safety and familiarity and novelty, newness, uncertainty over here. At one end, you have that closeness, right? And at the other, you have the novelty. If you get stuck at one end of this spectrum, then you either lose desire or you lose safety. If you have too much safety, you'll feel a lack of desire, and then it's time to add a bit of novelty and anticipation in your relationship to get back in balance, right? If you feel plenty of desire but you feel quite insecure, then it's probably time to add some safety to get back in balance, to find that middle ground. This is where you can have both desire and safety in your relationship. So how can you have security and excitement in that same relationship? What practically can you do when you're in that long-term relationship? As you now know, we naturally gravitate towards comfort and safety. That's where we want to go. Our core need is safety. While novelty and uncertainty obviously gets less and less, the more familiar we become and the more time we spend with each other. So, to keep desire alive, we need to recreate the elements that made desire so natural and easy at the beginning of your relationship. So, the novelty, the newness, the anticipation, the uncertainty, the obstacles, etc. And here's a few ways you could actually do that in practice. Plan surprises is a great way, even when you've been with someone for a long time, because novelty and anticipation leads to desire, right? People often say that it shouldn't take planning and should be spontaneous, but think about this for a minute. When you started dating, nothing was just spontaneous. You would plan a time and a place to meet, right? Someone would organize a date. You would both spend time and energy getting ready. Then you would go on a date not knowing what exactly would happen, which add that element of uncertainty, right? You would imagine how it might be like to be on that date, which is anticipation. And, the experience would often be something new, which would be a sense of novelty, hence why you felt that desire. It wasn't just spontaneous, but a planned effort that took energy and time. So rather than keep going to the same restaurant and then back to the bedroom, or only going to the bedroom after watching some TV and just expecting desire to magically be there in your long-term relationship, even though none of the conditions for desire is actually there, the novelty, the uncertainty, the anticipation, you could spend more of your time planning a date that incorporate all these things. So let's look at them one by one. As an example here, you could pick a new place and then send her an email saying that she should meet you at X location at X time and ask her to wear a dress that you really like. This makes it a new experience as that novelty, but it also creates some uncertainty as she does not know exactly what's going to happen. It's new, unexpected, and there's a lot of elements, unanswered questions for her, so she can start getting excited and anticipate what will happen. Leave out details on purpose to have that anticipation, and she'll start to think about the experience far in advance. Can you see how that would stimulate that same sensation as when you started seeing each other? By recreating these conditions, you can rekindle that desire. That does not mean, of course, that safety is not important. It is, because if there's a fundamental lack of safety, then, if there's too much unsafety or lack of safety in the relationship, that can also detract, and that can be what we call a brake on desire. And it doesn't matter how much you hit the speeder if the brake is also held down at the same time. So first we must avoid the brake being there, which is having a safety, trust, and all these things. But that alone does not create desire. And then we use these elements to hit the speeder that then adds up the excitement and the speed. So the next point you can do practically is have some time apart. I know some of you may live together, and especially here in lockdown quarantine when we're together all the time, but if you do, just make sure you have some time apart. If you come home every day, do the same thing, sit together, and then go to bed and expect to have sex, then again, none of the conditions are there for desire, so it's more likely that it'll be lacking, right? If instead you both take some time, spend it with friends, go do your own hobbies, go on a holiday separately, So there's new things to learn about your partner, so you see new sides of yourself. This is so important to keep that interest going as well. And also having growth. Space is where desire can breathe and longing can actually grow. We can start to miss and desire what we don't have all the time. We need that gap to bridge the space, the obstacle, the uncertainty and novelty that is on the other side, And this is where that fuel comes that makes us want to be with that person and desire them. If I put you in a desert without water, you'll feel a great desire for water and a drink very, very fast that you don't have day to day when it's just accessible and it's there all the time in your tab. Does that make sense? I hope it does, because this is again an example of where desire is created. The next practical example is what I call social setting. Seeing how others respond to our partner can really remind us of their desirability. We spend so much time together with our partner that we get so familiar with them and see them in one context. And often being able to just see them and the reactions of other people and in that social context and see how they suddenly interact with others lets us see other parts of our partner that can reignite that desire again. And that can be a very simple way to do that too. Of course, if your partner has some kind of social anxiety or don't like gatherings, then hey, use some of the other elements that I talked about already that can also enhance desire. So that's it for today. If you like this video, then like and subscribe and leave a comment and also share it with friends or family, etc. And go check out the free webinar on sincenter.com where there are so many tips on desire, on relationship, and how to have a flourishing and beautiful connection. Take care and see you in the next video.